fight for Family A Paw Patrol story. It was a beautiful day. Day in Adventure Bay. Sky, Zuma, Rubble, and Rocky played tag around the lookout. Ryder was preparing for a special event later that evening. Chase and Marshall were on the beach with their parents and siblings, Max, Chase's father, Blaze, Marshall's father, Roxy, Chase's mother, Misty, Marshall's mother, Dodger, Chase's brother, and Ash, Marshall's brother. They spent the entire day hanging out and having a good time. They have been doing so since they got freed from the king's grasp. They went sledding on the mountain, swimming at the beach, and playing at the park. Every once in a while, if Chase and Marshall's family were around during missions, they would tag along to watch and observe. They all enjoyed being a family again after so long. There was a lot to catch up on, but they were making incredible progress. After a long day at the beach, the sun got close to setting over the horizon. Max looked up at the sun. "We have to get going," he announced, "if we want to catch our train." Chase and Marshall frowned. They wished the day could last a little longer. But they also knew that Justin and Carmen, Ryder's parents, were waiting for them back at their home. As they walked back to the station, they talked about plans for the future. "So, when will we see you guys again?" Marshall asked. "Most likely, next week," Blaze answered. Chase and Marshall were shocked by the response. "Really?" they asked. Max nodded. "Justin and Carmen will be out of town for work, so we will stay with you until they return." "Awesome," Chase said. Typically, it was 2 or 3 weeks between visits, so the announcement was unexpected. "What about you two?" Roxy asked. "I bet you both will be busy with missions and stuff." "Most likely," Chase agreed. "But we'll see each other again soon, so it's fine." "Yeah," Dodger said. "But in the meantime, you got Sky and Everest to keep you company, right?" Chase and Marshall blushed. Chase was in a relationship with Sky, and Marshall was with Everest. They couldn't believe it was real, but they wouldn't have it any other way. They were happy. 2. The group reached the train station as the sky turned orange. There was still time before the train arrived, so they sat down and talked. Max looked over the horizon as the sun disappeared. "I'm still in awe about how much has happened over these past few months." "Yeah, no kidding," Blaze agreed. "Who knows where we would have been right now, right?" "But luckily, everything turned out fine," Misty said. "That madman is where he belongs. Life couldn't be better." Better. "That's true," Marshall said. "Right, Chase?" "Wouldn't change a thing," Chase agreed. The train came to a halt at the station with a hiss. The conductor yelled, "All aboard," as he blew the horn. "I guess that's our cue," Blaze said. "We don't want to leave the man waiting." They all hugged each other and said their goodbyes. Everyone except Chase and Marshall got onto the train and looked out the window at the two pups. They waved their paws at each other. "See you in a week," Dodger exclaimed. "We love you," Roxy and Misty said. "Bye," Chase and Marshall replied. The train horn blew one last time before the wheels started moving again. Chase and Marshall watched as the train left the station and headed away. Once Chase and Marshall could no longer see the train, they began their walk back to the lookout. When they arrived to the giant tower, they noticed Ryder leaning against the window, facing them. "How did it go with your parents?" he asks. "It went good, Ryder, sir," Chase replied. "That's good," Ryder said. "Your dinner's ready inside. After that, we'll be heading off to sleep early." Marshall tilted his head. "Why's that, Ryder?" he asked. "We have a busy day tomorrow." They started walking inside when Ryder's pup pad rang. "You two, go on ahead," he told them. "I have to take this." Marshall and Chase didn't think much of it and went inside. Chase and Marshall ate their food with the others. how did it go? Zuma asked. Good, Chase and Marshall replied in unison. Do you guys know what's going to happen tomorrow? Chase asked. We thought you would know, Sky replied. I guess it'll be a surprise for us all, then, Chase said. Ryder walked in and sat at a nearby table. Who called, Ryder, sir? Chase asked. The mayor, he replied. She just wanted to go over things about tomorrow. He looked at the clock on the wall. The time read 9:12. Well, time for all of us to head to sleep. The pups said goodnight to each other and walked to their pup houses. They fell asleep, wondering what the morning would bring. Fight for Chapter 2. As usual, Chase was the first to wake up in the morning. He got up, put on his uniform, and walked out. He turned right on, went up to the first pup house, which was Sky's. Sky, time to get up, he called out to her. After not getting a response, he called out again. He received no response, which worried him. Say usually woke up and called back after the first call. Carefully, Chase opened the door to Sky's pup house. To his relief, the sleeping cockapoo was soundly asleep on her bed. Her hair/fur roller was still attached to her forehead. Chase took a deep breath of relief, then walked up next to Sky. He nudged at her neck with his snout. Sky, he whispered. Time to get up. This time, Sky began to turn. She opened her eyes and was met with Chase's amber eyes. Hey, Chase, she said softly. What are you doing in here? You were responding to me from outside, he replied, so I came in here to wake you up. Well, I'm lucky to have you here for me then? Me too, Sky. I'll be outside to give you some space to get ready. Chase showed himself out and closed the door behind him. As Chase waited, he looked around. The clear blue sky held close to no clouds, and the wind blew only enough to get the morning scents around. The birds' chirps, the waves from the bay splashed softly, and everything seemed calm. Chase noticed some balloons floating down by Town Hall, which he figured were meant for whatever made today special. 1. Sky opened the door and walked out. She didn't have her uniform on like Chase except for her collar. I'm ready, she announced. I noticed, Chase replied, causing Sky to giggle. Ryder should be preparing breakfast if you want to head in. I still have to wake up the others. Okay, Sky replied. She nuzzled Chase before walking towards the doors of the lookout. Ever since they revealed their love for each other, they have been happy. But over time, the shock of actually being together subsided, and they finally accepted having each other, as more than friends, as the new normal life. Chase walked around the lookout, waking up the pups. He started off with Rubble, Rocky, Zuma, and ended by waking up Marshall. Hey, Marshall, he called out. Time to get up. Chase heard Marshall groan from inside his pup house. Okay, Chase, gimme a second. Marshall got up, put on his collar, and walked outside. Good morning, Chase, Marshall said. Good morning, Marshall, Chase replied. Are you ready for breakfast? Marshall scoffed. When am I not? He asked sarcastically. They both laughed and headed inside. All of the other pups were eating their food, leaving 2 bowls for Chase and Marshall. Chase and Marshall walked over to the bowl and ate with the others. As they ate, Rubble talked about his dream, which was mostly about building a house out of large dog treats, his 2 favorites things. Ryder walked up to the pups as Rubble finished his story. Good morning, pups, he said. Good morning, Ryder, the pups replied. Ryder poured himself some cereal and ate at a nearby table. He was dressed in his uniform. and looking through things on his pup pad. So, Rubble, he said, what was your dream about this time? Rubble and the others laughed as the bulldog explained it to Ryder in great detail. Do you think we could one day do it, Ryder? Rubble begged. Ryder laughed. Maybe, Rubble. He stood up and picked up his empty cereal bowl. All right, pups, when you guys are done, let's meet up on the top floor. No uniforms needed today, as far as I know. The pups agreed and continued eating. When the pups finished eating, they put their bowls away and walked into the elevator. Marshall was the last one eating. When he realized that the others were gone, he ran over to them. Wait for me, he exclaimed. He wasn't looking where he going, and Marshall tripped of a bouncy ball. The mistake sent the Dalmatian flying into the elevator, knocking over everyone like bowling pins. Marshall looked at everyone and said, I guess I'm on a roll today, making everyone laugh. The doors closed and the elevator began to rise. It usually stops in the middle, but since no one was changing into their uniforms, it kept going. The elevator reached the top floor, the doors opened, and the pups walked out and sat around Ryder. Thanks for coming, pups, Ryder said. As some of you may have noticed, there's a party set up down at Town Hall. Well, today is the anniversary of when Adventure Bay was formed. Oh, the pups said, stretching out the word. I forgot that it was today, Chase said. None of the pups remembered. That's okay, Chase, Ryder reassured. The mayor is holding a party at Town Hall. She invited everyone from Adventure Bay and surrounding areas. There will be games, food, dancing, and more. The party will also extend onto the beach. Awesome, Zuma exclaimed. When does the party start, Ryder? Marshall asked. He hoped Everest would be going as well. They have talked to each in a while, and he couldn't wait to see her. Ryder looked at his pup pad. In about 30 minutes. But there's still some things that need to happen first. Chase, can you run ahead and close off Main Street, in between Town Hall and the beach?